Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. Hope you all have enjoyed your vacation, and now it's time to restart our studies. And we have started the chapter Federalism before the vacation, and we have discussed so many subtopics under this chapter. So, first of all, we have discussed this map of India, which is representing the India of 1947, and then we have seen the map of India of the year 2007, and we can see the changes that have taken place in the map of India, the internal map. We can see that in this map of India, which is representing the India of 1947, there are different names of the various states, and their boundaries are also different. And when we compare this map with the map of 2007, you can see 2017. Uh, you can see that it has changed a lot. The internal boundaries of the states and their names have also changed, and this change of the names, this change of the internal boundaries of the states, the number of the states and union territories, all these depict the functioning of the federalism in India. Okay, so the most important thing in this regard is the what is federalism? What do we mean by federalism? And in this connection, we must understand uh, federalism is existence of different levels of government. Government is not existing at one level only. The power is not concentrated at one place only. The main concept of federalism is decentralization. The main concept of federalism is power sharing. Power is not concentrated. Power is not centralized. Power is distributed. Power is decentralized among different levels of government. And this is the main concept of federalism. And the you can see in practice what happened in various countries which have adopted federalism. Their constitution has all the provisions for the federal constitution. Whatever is the requirement of a federal government, everything was there in the constitution of those countries. But still, what we find that federalism in these countries could not be successful, and the countries were disintegrated. There are so many examples like USSR, which was a federal country, but it could not sustain like that. And in 1991, it was disintegrated. And there are other countries also, like Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and Pakistan, which has also faced division of the country. Why this division of the country was faced by these countries? Because uh, though these countries accepted, though these countries adopted federalism in their constitution, but in practice they were not federal. Their practice of federalism was not successful. It was not doing according to the desire of the various communities, the various ethnic groups which were residing in the country. So this ultimately led to the disintegration. This ultimately led to the division of the country. So it's not easy to. It's very easy to have federal provisions in the constitution. We can adopt federal provisions in the constitution. the constitution makers can adopt the federal structure in the constitution. It is easy. That can be done very easily. But to have the federalism in a successful manner, it's a very tough task. And when we compare this condition of like USSR, Czechoslovakia, and Pakistan, what we find that in our country, the federalism is working in a very efficient and successful manner. We are having a successful federal structure. Not only our constitution has made provisions for the federal structure, but our federal practices has been evolved in our country, and because of these federal structure, federal practices which have been evolved in the country in the past 70 years, this these practices have made our federalism a success. And in the context of India, what is very much important for us to understand that India is a country of diversity. The most important feature of India is its diversity. We have so many linguistic groups in our country. There are, you can see it here, there are more than 20 major languages and several hundred minor ones. Then we see that India is also a country of various religion. Different religious groups are also living in the country. So India is a country of diversity, but still we find that unity is there. And from where this unity is coming, the source of unity is our common landmass. The source of unity is our common history. The source of unity is our fight for independence. So these are the unity. So the most important feature of our country is unity in diversity. We are diverse. We have different languages, people belonging to different languages, people belonging to different religion, people belonging to different cultures are living in India, but they are not living uh, as a separate entity, but they are living as a single unit. So this is the feature of India, and this is unity in diversity. So this is the story of India, we can say it. And this is the reason why we have adopted federalism also. So after that, we have discussed this key features. There are some key features of federalism which must be there if we wanted to adopt a federal structure, then these key features must be there in the constitution. And what are the key features? The most important key feature is the division of power. There are two set of at least minimum two set of government is essential for the existence of federal government. There may be three set of government also, as you can see in India. We have three levels of government. So two set of polity. Okay, one at the center level and the other at the regional level or provincial level or state level. We can say it anything. Okay, so this is the first key element of federalism is the uh, two levels of government, at least two levels of government. Then we see that people also have two set of identities. They are not, they don't have single identity, they have two set of identity. The first is the reason to which they belong, and the second is not second, you can see it in order. It's not order that the first the most important identity is regional identity. It's not like that. The people are having two identities. They have a national identity as well as the regional identities. Okay, so this is also a key feature of federalism, and in many federal countries, the constitution has adopted dual citizenship. Dual citizenship means A person will be citizen of the state also and the country also. But in our country, we have not adopted dual citizenship. We have adopted only single citizenship. We are only citizens of India. We are not citizen of UP or Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu. We are only citizens of India. Still, we have two identities. We feel that we are European also and Indian also. So this is the two set of identities are also there. Okay, and then if there is federal structure, if the federal structure is to be adopted, then there will be need of a written constitution, because in federal government what we see, there is a distribution of power, there is division of power. So this division of power should be written. If it is not in written form, then it will lead to confusion and conflict. So written constitution is very much important, very much essential feature of a federal government. And not only the constitution should be written only, but the constitution should be supreme also. Because if the constitution is supreme, then what will happen? The division of power, which is done by the constitution, will be the ultimate division of power. Means all the states, all the government which are existing at different levels, be it central government or the state level, state government, both of them will abide by the distribution of power which is done by the constitution. And if suppose there is confusion or conflict arises regarding this division of power, then what will happen? Though the constitution is written, everything is clear, still there may be some ambiguity, there may be some confusion, there may be some conflict between different states or between the center and the state. Then in that case, who will play the role of the interpreter of the constitution? This role has been assigned to the judiciary. And as the judiciary has been assigned the the power to solve the conflict between the center and the states, so it need to be independent. Then only the judiciary can play its role in a efficient manner. So independent judiciary is also an important feature of the federal structure. So we have seen all these things. So these are very much important features of a federal government. But as I have told you earlier also, that in spite of adopting federal provisions in the constitution, many countries have disintegrated, many countries have been divided, and this happened because federal practices would not be evolved in the country. Feeling of trust, the most important thing which make a federal government successful is the culture of trust. Various communities must have trust upon each other. They must cooperate with each other. They must have mutual respect and they must have mutual restraint. Then only the federalism function smoothly. Then the political parties, the culture of political parties are also important in order to make the federalism a success. Because if the political parties are working in such a way that only a single group, a single religious group, or a single linguistic group, or a single ideology comes to dominate the entire federation, then what will happen? Then there will be dissatisfaction among different communities which are not belonging to the that single ideology or that single linguistic or religious group, and this will lead to the disintegration and this will lead to the end of the federal structure. So in spite of adopting federal provisions in the constitution, if federal practices have not been evolved in a country, then it leads to disintegration, then it leads to unsuccessful federalism. Okay, as we have seen in Nigeria, what happened that there was two parts, northern and southern Nigeria was there, and then in 1950, Nigerian leaders formed a federal constitution. Okay, but in spite of formation of this federal constitution, what happened that the different ethnic groups which were existing in Nigeria, there was not trust. They were not trusting each other. There was atmosphere of fear. There was atmosphere of fear and conflict among different ethnic groups of the country, and this led to the end of this federalism. And then military regime came in Nigeria, and after that, in 1999, we see that the democracy was restored in Nigeria. So there was problem regarding economic revenue, distribution of revenue was also one of the problem which was faced in Nigeria. So this is the way federalism can become a successful federalism, or it can become a failure. Okay, so now we have now we will discuss this federalism in the Indian Constitution. Okay, so we can see that our national leaders, even at the time of freedom struggle, they were aware that a country like India, which was so large, not only in area but also in population, and besides, because of diversity, it was very much accepted that after becoming independent, India must adopt the federal structure of the government, because uh, in order to rule such a large country, such a diverse country, it was not possible to rule it from at a single place. So it was pre-decided that we will adopt a federal form of government. And democracy can also become meaningful. Democracy can also uh, become real only when we adopt federal structure in a country like India, which is full of diversity. Because without democracy, without a federal structure, there will not be the satisfaction among the different religious and linguistic communities which are uh, residing in India. So our leaders were of the opinion that after independence, in order to make our country a true democratic country, we will need a federal structure of the government. But it was decided that we will adopt a federal structure. But the problem was, the confusion was regarding this, that how the power should be distributed, what should be the extent of the powers of the regional government or the provincial government or the state government. Because before independence, what happened there was the demand of the Muslim League was there, which was demanding greater representation to the Muslims, because there was fear among the leaders of the Muslim League that after the end of the British rule in India, there will start a Hindu rule, because Hindus are in majority in India. So it was a fear, and because of this fear, they were demanding greater representation. They were demanding that the Muslims should be given more representation. And before the decision of the partition, there was so many discussions took place uh, in order to satisfy the different communities which were living in India. for the mode of division of power, how the power will be divided between the center and the regional government. But there was a lack of consensus, and there was great mm, uh, dissatisfaction, and all this led to the partition of the country. And after the partition of the country, our Constituent Assembly decided that a government will be framed in India, and this government will be based on the principle of unity and cooperation between the center and the states. There must be cooperation, and this cooperation will lead to the unity of the country. And in our country, at that time, when the constitution was uh, in the process of making, at that time our country was facing a lot of troubles, a lot of problems, like partition of the country was done. And with this partition, what happened, that displacement of population was taking place. Hindus from India was going to Hindus from Pakistan were coming to India, and Muslims from India were going to Pakistan. And in this displacement of population, this was totally unplanned, and this displacement became very violent, and people had to suffer a lot. So many killings were there. So the atmosphere of the country was very dreadful. And other than this problem of violence and riots and killings, there was another problem that the country was facing at that time. That was the princely states. At that time, I have told you earlier also that when India became independent or under the British rule, India, the whole territory of India was divided into two parts. The one part was British provinces, the provinces which were directly under the rule of the British Crown, and the other part was princely states, those regions which were not under the direct control of the British Crown, but still they were under the control of the British Crown only, but the control was not direct. In some spheres, they have some, to some extent, we can say they have autonomy, but they were all under the British rule only. But the division was this, like this. There were two parts. And when India became independent, the most important problem, other than this partition and displacement of people and riots and killings, the other important problem which arose at that time was the integration of these princely states. And the number of these princely states were 563 princely states were present in India at that time in 1947. So there was a fear that India cannot be integrated into a single unit. India will be disintegrated. This type of fear was there among the leaders of the country, among the whole world. The whole world was thinking that India could not exist as a single unit, because so many diversity is existing in India. So many princely states are there. So this type of situation which was prevailing at that time, all this have an effect on the nature of our federal structure. Our our leaders, our national leaders, were very much fearful that if we adopt a federal structure in which there is states are equally powerful as the center, then in that case the country may be disintegrated. So they understood that there is a need to make the center strong. So our constitution makers paid attention to this need of the time, and there are so many provisions in our constitution which make the country, which make our federal structure, uh, mm, which make the center powerful in this federal structure. As you can see, the Constitution of India does not anywhere, it is not mentioned that India is a federation. You can see it is written in Article 1, Clause 1, India is Bharat, shall be a union of states. So this is, what is this? This is a union of state. India is a union of state. There is no mention of federation. Then the second clause of Article 1 says the states and the territories thereof shall be as specified in the first schedule. There will be mention of all the states and territories in the first schedule of the constitution. Okay. Now we see that in our constitution there was division of power was done. This division of power between the center and the state government. Okay, so first of all, two set of government was created. Okay, two sets of government was created by the Indian Constitution. The one set of government was for the entire nation, and that was called union government or central government also. Okay, and the another set of government was created for units or state, which were called state government. Both of these have a constitutional status and clearly identified area of activity. So I have discussed earlier also that this division of power between the center and the state is done through the constitution. It means that the state government are not so state government are not both the state government and the central government are uh, getting their power from the constitution. The constitution is the source of power for both the government, be it central government or the state government. So what does it mean that central government is also getting the power from constitution and state government is also getting the power from the constitution? So there cannot be any change in this division of power. There cannot be any change in this distribution of power by the central government alone. If there is a need to change this division of power, then how it will be done? It will be done through the amendment of the constitution. So this is federal structure. The state governments are not getting their powers from the central government. State government is not subordinate to the central government. State government is equally getting its power from the constitution. So the constitution is giving the power to the center as well as to the states. So no one can change this distribution of power. If there is need to change this distribution of power, this can be done only through the amendment of the constitution. So in this way, our constitution makers adopted federal structure of the country. Okay. Now, just think of a situation that any dispute, any conflict arise between regarding this division of power. Okay, if there is any dispute about which powers come under the control of the union and which under the states, this can be resolved by the judiciary. And judiciary will resolve this problem on the basis of what? On the basis of the constitutional provisions only. So our constitution is supreme. The constitution has divided the power between the center and the state. It is a very clear division of power, but still if some if some conflict or dispute arise, then in that case, this dispute regarding this division of power will be resolved by the judiciary on the basis of constitutional provisions. So the constitution clearly demarcates subjects which are under the exclusive domain of the union. Okay, there are some subjects which are mentioned in the constitution which are under the exclusive domain of the union. What is the meaning of this? Under the exclusive domain of the union, it means that these subjects, on these subjects which are mentioned under the exclusive domain of the union, on these subjects only the union government or the central government is capable of making laws. Only union government can make laws on these subjects. And there are some subjects which are under the exclusive domain of the states, on which only the state government can make laws. So this is the distribution of power. Okay. So, and in this distribution, you can see we will discuss it further also. In our constitution, there are three lists. Okay, three lists are mentioned in our constitution. The first list is union list, the second list is state list, and the third list is concurrent list. So there are subjects in union list. These are the subjects. There are many more subjects other than these. These are not all the subjects. Look at this: defense, atomic energy, foreign affairs, war and peace, banking, railways, post and telegraph, airways, ports, foreign trade, currency and coinage. All these are under the union list. All these subjects, on all these subjects, law can be made only by the union government. And these are the subjects which need to be uniform in all over the country. There should not be differences. There should not be, we cannot adopt different currencies in all in different states of the country. We need to have single currency. We need to have a unified defense policy. We need to have atomic energy must be there in the hands of the union government. And one more thing which we saw, that in our constitution, the division of power is done in such a manner that the sources of revenue, this sources of revenue, the economic and financial powers are given in the hands of the central government. This is the distribution of power is done in such a way in our constitution that economic and financial powers are centralized in the hands of the central government. Okay, so the states have very meager revenue sources. They don't have much revenue sources, but their responsibilities are bigger. So we will discuss this also in further discussions. This will be discussed. So the this is the distribution of power which is done in our constitution. Now we see the subjects of state list. In the state list, there are those subjects on which only the state government can make laws. You can see this: agriculture, police, prison, local government, public health, land, liquor, trade and commerce, livestock and animal husbandry, state public services. All these are under the state list, and on these subjects, in normal circumstances, the state legislature can make laws. So this term is also meaningful normally. Okay, there are some situations, there are some circumstances in which these subjects, the center gets the power to make laws on the subjects which are mentioned in the state list. So we will discuss that situation in further discussions. So here you are only concerned with this distribution of power. Then there are concurrent list. There is concurrent list. Concurrent list include many subjects like education, transfer of property other than agricultural land, forest, trade union, adulteration, adoption, and succession. All these are under the concurrent list. On the subjects of this list, both the government, the central government and the state government, both have the power to make laws. But if there is any conflict between the laws made by the center and laws made by the state, if there is conflict between these two laws, then the law of the center will be given priority. The law of the center will prevail and the state law will not prevail. Okay, this is the situation. And then we see residuary power. Residuary powers are those powers which are not mentioned in the constitution. With the passage of time, with the new circumstances, new subjects may arise, and on these subjects, the central government has the power to make laws. Okay, for example, cyber laws. When our constitution was made, at that time internet was not there, so there was no need of mentioning of cyber laws. People were not knowing anything about this. So now this cyber law has been become one of the most important subject on which there is need to make laws. So this is the residuary power which has been given to the central government. So this is all for today.